first glance, the 2021 fire year does not look all that different from any other modern fire year. Just like any other year, the weather got hot and dry, and the fires were big and plentiful. Then the weather got cool and wet, and the fires were small and rare until they weren't. Just like any other fire year, many things were saved, while many others were lost. Just like any other fire year, firefighters died in the line of duty. An average year in a string of extraordinary years is not average. Record heat and drought in a trend of climate extremes cannot be ignored. The 2021 fire year has lessons to teach us if we are willing to take a closer look. Nationally, nearly 59,000 wildfires consumed over 7.1 million acres in 2021. Of the nearly 6,000 structures lost, more than half were homes. And the nation's most destructive fire burned during the final days of the year. As could be expected, large fire activity was minimal in the West in January and February. However, scattered large fires persisted in the southern area. Widespread below normal precipitation and above normal temperatures allowed a short bout of wind-driven fires in Southern California and the northern and central plains through February. Large fire activity increased in March, with short-duration, wind-driven incidents reported in the southern, eastern, Rocky Mountain, northern Rockies, and southwest geographic areas. By June, environmental conditions reached unprecedented levels. The national preparedness level increased to 4 on June 22nd, the second earliest occurrence in PL history. Intense drought conditions covered 90% of the West. A historic heat wave set numerous all-time record high temperatures in the Pacific Northwest. On July 7th and 8th, dry lightning storms ignited numerous fires across Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana. The national preparedness level increased to 5 on July 14th, the third earliest occurrence in PL history. Extraordinarily dry fuel conditions extended as far as Hawaii. The Mana Road fire burned 40,000 acres on the Big Island in late July and early August and became one of the largest wildfires in the state's history. Events from the 2021 fire year serve as grim reminders of the importance of proper personal protective equipment use. Lessons from the McFarland and Devil's Creek fires provide us with actionable items to help prevent serious injuries. On August 6th, a 20-person hand crew was entrapped while suppressing a spot fire on an active flank of the McFarland fire on the Shasta Trinity National Forest. Despite having multiple lookouts and an accessible safety zone, a sudden and exponential increase in fire behavior forced the crew to run through flames, escape into the black, or take refuge behind a dozer on the road. Multiple firefighters received first and second-degree burns, and one suffered from smoke inhalation and carbon monoxide poisoning. Facilitated learning analysis findings include personal protective equipment. Wildland firefighting has some inherent risks which can be mitigated but not eliminated. Our flame-resistant clothing, including face, neck shrouds, and gloves, is intended to allow us to engage in wildland fire operations with its inherent risk of burn injury. There is reason to believe that the use of gloves and face, neck shrouds by all personnel in this incident could have reduced burn injuries. On July 22nd, 3 engines and 1 Type 2 IA hand crew conducted a burnout operation on the Devil's Creek fire near Jordan, Montana. Poor visibility from an inversion, a rapid and dramatic wind shift, and instant ignition of preheated fuels created a recipe for disaster. In the blink of an eye, total chaos ensued as overwhelming convective heat blasted over a 70-yard section of the road where the engines and hand crew were working. Of the approximately 35 firefighters involved in the blowup, 5 required immediate advanced medical care, and 3 more sought care for injuries persisting days later. The Devil's Creek Accident Factual Report notes, "This was an explosive, short-term microscale event. The wind, Fuels, topography, and main fire were only in alignment in a very small physical area. The fire behavior and resulting entrapment experienced on the fire was unexpected. No witnesses described having any feeling of unease prior to the wind event. It would have been a hard event to predict or anticipate. Reminders: always wear PPE, including gloves, when working on the fire line, as conditions can change rapidly and put firefighters in jeopardy of burn injuries. Consider using a shroud to protect the head, neck, and face from heating when working on the fire line. Undergarments should be made of flame-resistant fabric or natural fiber. Avoid synthetic materials, as they can melt and drip at temperatures that firefighters may be exposed to during an entrapment or burnover. Extreme drought conditions persisted over 95% of the West through August. According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, this was the most expansive and intense drought for the West this century. These conditions drove a significant fire activity increase across the Northwest and Northern California. Even Minnesota felt the effects of the drought. The 26,000-acre Greenwood fire started on August 15th and forced evacuation of almost 300 homes. The largest wildfires of the year burned in southern Oregon and northern California. Oregon's Bootleg Fire consumed over 400,000 acres. The River Complex, Caldor Fire, and Monument Fire each burned over 200,000 acres in California. The largest fire of 2021, the Dixie Fire, burned just short of 1 million acres to become the largest in California history. By mid-August, firefighting resources were stretched thin. Fortunately, both international and military assistance were on the way. Canada dispatched crews and overhead to incidents in the Pacific Northwest. An Australian 737 air tanker provided national aerial fire support. U.S. Army troops deployed to support wildfire suppression efforts in California. President Biden visited the National Interagency Fire Center in mid-September to meet with fire managers before traveling on to California to survey the wildfire damage. Events from prescribed fires in 2021 alert us of the importance of proper drip torch configuration. Lessons from the Clear Creek Aspen and Brundage prescribed fires identify actionable items to help prevent serious injuries. On April 13th, crews conducted blacklining operations on the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest. An experienced holding boss had a drip torch securely strapped to his pack to supplement torches for the ignition crew. While firing operations progressed, the brass locking ring and wick assembly simultaneously popped off the drip torch. Burn fuel soaked the holding boss from the waist down. The fuel instantly combusted, and the holding boss suffered second and third degree burns to both legs. Rapid lesson sharing findings include: despite no indications of leaking, the drip torch locking ring was able to pop off. The ring did not appear to be from the same manufacturer as the other torch components. On May 16th, an engine module conducted ignitions on the Payette National Forest. One drip torch malfunctioned multiple times during operations. Despite repeated attempts by the lighter to properly configure the torch, the wick assembly and locking ring continued to abruptly separate from the torch body, allowing fuel to spill and ignite. Ultimately, personnel flagged the torch and discontinued use. Drip torch components are not universal. It is possible to have drip torches from numerous manufacturers on any given module or local unit. Mixing components from different manufacturers creates potential hazards. Only use drip torch components from the same manufacturer. As you prepare yourself and your gear for the 2022 fire year, don't forget about your IRPG. The Incident Response Pocket Guide is revised every 4 years, and a new version is available for 2022. Refer to this updated and expanded IRPG for critical information on operational engagement, risk management, all-hazard response, aviation, and many other topics. The national preparedness level remained at 5 through September 20th. This 68-day span was the longest in PL history at the highest level. Throughout October, fire activity decreased across the West. The atmospheric river event on October 23rd effectively ended the 2021 fire season for many geographic areas. However, December saw an abnormal increase in fire activity across the northern Rockies, Rocky Mountain, and southern geographic areas. A strong downslope wind event on December 1st fanned 2 large fires across north-central Montana, with the West Wind Fire burning through the town of Denton. On December 15th, 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts drove a dozen large fires across Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. This unusual late-season event produced the nation's 10th largest fire of 2021. The 4-county fire in central Kansas ran 30 miles and consumed 120,000 acres on the same day it ignited. On December 30th, strong downslope winds along the Colorado Front Range impacted a new fire start. The Marshall Fire advanced rapidly, burning 6,000 acres and over 1,000 structures in communities between Boulder and Denver by January 1st. The 2021 fire year ignited in January and burned right on through December. Just like any other fire year, 2021 eventually ended, and another fire year began. We can't know for sure if 2022 will be average or extraordinary, how hot and dry it may be, how many fires may start, or how many acres may burn. But we know the fires are coming, and we can get ready. We can learn from the past to prevent repeated mistakes. We should study trends to better understand what the future may hold. And we must take small steps now to make us safer and more prepared for the months ahead. Study now. Get ready. Don't let 2022 be just another fire year.